Today on the wood turning workshop, I'm going to ask you to step up to the plate, because today's project is a baseball bat. Stay tuned. Well, our goal for today is to make a well-balanced bat. It might look like a simple project, but a bat has a lot of intricate curves and very precise measurements. If you're off on the measurements, the bat will be illegal for use. One thing to consider about the bat, too, is the wood you're going to use. Ash is the most used wood for baseball bats. Also, hard maple can be used. But one of the characteristics of the wood, you want to have a very straight, tight grain. It can't have any defects in it. No checks, no splits, no knot holes. That would weaken the bat and it would break the first time you used it. I've gone ahead and cut this blank to length. I've got it at 34 inches because the bat we're going to make today is 32 inches. And we're going to want to mount it between centers now. I have a live center on my tailstock and I have a 4-prong drive center here. I'm going to put that there and I'm going to use a dead blow mallet to drive it home. I want a really firm seat on this. That way when I'm turning it'll be less likely to break loose. Hold that with my hand so it doesn't fall off. Put it in the headstock. Come back to the tailstock. I've got a dimple in the wood I made with a punch so I can center that up really easily. Get it good and firm. Tighten that up. I'm going to bring my tool rest up. I've got it set at about center spindle height. I'm going to bring it up to the edge. Rotate the wood to make sure it's not going to hit it. And then we're going to grab our roughing gouge. And this is going to do 95% of the work today. It's a wonderful tool for roughing things out, but it's also a great tool for making long, smooth, gentle curves. When you're working with a piece of wood this big and heavy, it can be very dangerous if it comes off the lathe. So use the most protection you have. I'm going to be wearing this throughout the roughing process. One thing I like about the lathe I have here is it has variable speed. That also is a good safety measure. You can turn the lathe on at a very, very slow speed and slowly increase it until you find a comfortable speed for the piece you're working on. That's good. Now remember the technique for using a roughing gouge. Place it on the tool rest, take this hand, put the handle into your hip or your side, and then you put the bevel up against the wood. Now to make a cut, I start raising the handle. Once I start seeing wood coming off the tip, then I move my whole body to the side, make a cut, come back. Just a little bit at a time. You don't want to take a lot off. You take too big of a cut, you're going to risk getting a catch. And turning's fun anyway, so why rush it? As this edge starts to dull, you can actually roll the tool and get a fresh edge exposed. One important thing to keep in mind while you're cutting here, make sure your tool rest is extending past the end of the wood. If it's right at the edge of the wood, you'll come here, the wood will catch and slam that down away from you. This way, as you come off the wood, you still have support, and you're not going to have the tool yanked out of your hands. That's looking good. Nice and smooth there. This tool does a great job for that. Now I'm going to move my tool rest. And I stopped the lathe because it's very important to stop the lathe on a project like this. These edges are very sharp and they're just sticking out there, and they will catch that tool rest and give you a world of hurt. You don't want to ever move the tool rest with something like this spinning. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm looking at my tool rest edge right here, looking past it towards the edge of my ways right here. This is a perfectly straight line. If I get my tool rest perfectly parallel to that line, I know I'll be making a perfectly straight cut every time I use the tool. Spin it, doesn't hit. Let's get going a little further. Well, I think you get the idea. It's a repetitious thing. Round it out, stop the lathe, move the tool rest, start it back up, round it out some, stop the lathe, move the tool rest. So I'm going to go ahead and keep finishing this and rounding it out, and once I'm done with that, then we're going to start putting some shape on the baseball bat. I'm going to take my bat now and center it up on the blank. I'm interested in this end because we're going to work from the tailstock towards the headstock. Most importantly, I'm interested in the knob on the bottom of the bat. I don't want it too close to where the tailstock point is going in because I don't want that point to remain in the end of the knob. I'm going to take my pencil and mark where the knob transitions into the handle. I'm going to turn down to this diameter first, but also I noticed one thing. If you take the diameter of where the handle starts and start running it down the shaft of the handle, you notice it gets narrow very fast. Then it gradually gets back, thickens back up to about right here. That's that same diameter at the base of the handle. So what I'm going to do is, after I form the knob, I'm going to take my bedan tool and I'm going to rough this down to this diameter right here, and then we'll take our roughing gouge and create the curve of the handle and reduce it in size. That's the diameter of the handle. I'm going to move to the end of my tool rest and put that diameter there also. And remember, back out and give yourself some clearance. Okay, now we're just going to take all the wood out of the middle. There. That might be a little bit ugly, but the Badan did its job. I just wanted to remove that wood as quickly as possible. Now we're going to work on the top of the knob. Going to take my spindle gouge. Like I said, just form the top of the knob. That's a nice little bead curving over. There we go. I'm not going to worry about this end until later. Now we want to go back to our big gouge. After all that roughing out though, the edge is really dull. So I want to take this over to the grinder and show you a couple of sharpening techniques. Sooner or later you're going to find out that your tool rest has been changed. And I want to repeat this angle every time. If I don't do it accurately, I'll get a little bit shorter or a little bit longer, and over time I'll be way off of where I want to be. So the technique I use to make sure that this is matched up perfectly with this is to use a magic marker and come in here and mark up the center of the bevel. Okay, so I have the black on there. Now I take the tool, put it back up, and just rotate by hand gently a couple times, and then I look at that black mark, and you see that now I have a shiny mark all the way to the tip almost. So that means that I've actually got this at the right angle. If it had only scraped it away at the edge or at the tip here, I'd be at the wrong angle. So just by making slight adjustments back and forth, I'll find out that I've got it at the perfect angle, and that way I'm not wasting any tool steel, and I'm also at the angle I want to keep. A couple of things before we turn on the grinder. We want a straight edge on this tool. We don't want to swing the handle, so put the handle against your leg and that'll keep it in one place. Use this hand to do the rolling of the tool, and use this thumb to put the pressure down onto the tool rest. Keep the edge of the tool away from the wheel, turn the grinder on. Once the grinder's up to speed, roll the tool to its side. Make light contact. This isn't a very hard push. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on here. Just roll the tool through. And once you see sparks coming across the edge of the tool, you know you've got a good sharp edge. Now that we're sharp, we're going to take the roughing gouge and start bringing the wood down to the narrowest part of the handle, and when I get close I'll use my calipers to make sure that I'm there. You can hear there I'm starting to pick up a bit of vibration. Every piece of wood is different. Sometimes you can get through this without any help, but this time I'm going to have to put a Spindle Steady on here to reduce that vibration. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Spindle Steady, it's a device that clamps to your lathe and also clamps around the wood, and these wheels reduce the vibration. Oh, much better. Just like the roughing out process, I imagine you're getting the idea by now. You just keep turning, working your way back, taking critical measurements as you go. Now, one thing you're going to run into, you're going to have to move the steady rest over to the turn part of the piece in just a little bit because it's going to be in your way. And the other thing, if you keep getting vibration, switch from a large tool to a smaller tool, and that will help reduce the vibration. If you still have troubles at that point, lower the speed, and that should help also. Well, we're past first base and second base. We're on our way to third right now. We're going to do the barrel of the bat. Once we get this turn, we're on our way home. Okay. Just need to kind of taper that in. We're getting close to coming home. I'm going to sand this down to 220. One thing you're going to have to do is every grit, you're going to have to stop the lathe and sand with the grain to get rid of the radial scratches you're going to put in with the sandpaper. And you'd think on this project we'd want to part it off, but that'd be too dangerous. So what we'll do is once we're done sanding, I'll take this to the bandsaw and nip the ends off, sand those by hand, and then apply a finish. Well, this is the first coat of what will be several coats of hand-rubbed polyurethane. And with this project, I think we hit a home run. So until the next time on the Wood Turning Workshop, keep turning.